Stadia podcast, episode number 64. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts, alongside the man of many pixels. Joining me once again this week, Mr. Richie. How are we doing?
Well, actually, DPD are actually too good at their jobs, because I was meant to get my Stadia Premier Edition as part of my Cyberpunk pre-order on Tuesday, so I was getting it delivered to work. I've had 2 notifications today that they failed to deliver it because my works is shut down on the weekend.
So they're so fast,
yeah,
they've actually caused you problems now.
Well, not really. I'll just go get it. It'll get delivered tomorrow. But...
What a problem to have, though. Premier Editions out of the eyeballs. And
Exactly.
Before we start on the show, let's introduce our very special guest. So following on from Rock last week, we've got another slot open because, of course, Mr. Tom is in the middle of his house move. The techie teacher will return. Fear not. But in his stead, we've obviously reached out to the wonderful people in the Stadia community, and what better person to join us this week than the recently smashed past the 10k subscriber count, SunnyCloudGaming, all the way from the United States. It is United States, isn't it? As soon as I say that, I'm
Yes.
like, is it? Yes. United States itself. We've got Sunny joining us this week for episode 64 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing good. I have not slept a whole lot. I have been burning the midnight oil, working really, really hard, trying to definitely get the platform, like just showcasing it as much as I can. So I have been at it pretty hard, but I am very happy to be here with you fine gentlemen. I have been looking forward to this. I wasn't going to miss this. I don't care how much sleep I did or didn't get. I was going to be here with you guys. You guys are awesome, so I really appreciate it. Bottom of my heart, thank you guys for having me here and letting me chat it up with you guys.
Oh no, honor is all ours, my friend. And yes, big thank you for joining us and taking some time out of your sleep schedule to stop by. But I think one thing we all certainly have in common as gamers is a bad sleep pattern. Correct?
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't think you could class yourself as a gamer if you've not burned the midnight oil well into the early hours playing whatever game. Just one more game, right? It's always just one more game, one more mission, one more side quest, and then the sun comes up. And
yeah.
My problem is I usually look at the time, it's like, oh, it's about 10 o'clock. I'll go for like another hour, then I'll get a shower and go to bed. And then I'll look at the clock again, and it's like 3 in the morning. It's like, fuck.
that is what happens. That is certainly what happens. Time flies when you're having fun, as the do say. And speaking of having fun, as I mentioned, you are joining us alongside our esteemed guest and Richie for the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 64. If you are new to the show or new to the channel, give us a like and a subscribe down below. We massively appreciate it. And hopefully one day we'll grow to the amazing size that Sunny has accomplished all on his own as well. So
It'll happen.
It will happen one day. We'll, if all else, we'll just wait everyone out until we're the last ones left. That's it. It'll just be us in Stadia. That's it. But yes, you are here for episode 64 of the podcast. This is your weekly gaming roundup of all Stadia news, broken down topic by topic for around an hour or so. We usually go, and what an amazing week in Stadia it has been. We've got some great news lined up for you all in this little digital package of a podcast that we do bring you. Of course, we've got the amazing success of Cyberpunk. 8 million copies sold across many platforms, but which is the best platform? We'll certainly be talking about that. We've also got some cheeky THQ stealth drops this week of some long-awaited games. Probably not the best time to come out, but we'll be certainly talking about that. And we've got some wonderful new countries joining the Stadia community. So if you are new to the podcast, you're new to Stadia, welcome, most certainly welcome. It's one of the, if not the best community. Straight away, go over to you.
Yeah.
Just how amazing the Stadia players, how respectful of each other they are, how they engage in conversation so well. And you'll know all well from your many live streams just how great they get along and just respect each other as gamers and human beings, really.
I've been a part of other communities before, and I have never seen a community quite like this, where they will they'll kind of galvanize around like the creators. They'll support them more than anywhere else in terms of like Stadia itself is still just growing. It's not as big as it's going, like not as big as it is everywhere else, like Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. But the community, the people who watch us, who support us, who all this stuff, they'll do the little things. They'll comment, they'll like, they'll support. And I've never seen anything like this. This is crazy. It's why I am staying up in the middle of the night making videos, making content. This community is just insane. They're so supportive, and I am so blessed to be part of it. And it really is something to see. We're still growing. We're not huge yet, but just the little base of people that we have here, and now it's growing pretty big, especially this month. They support so much, so it really is something really amazing to see, and you don't see it anywhere else.
Yeah, we've been absolutely humbled just by the support we've had over the last year, and we've always said all along, as Stadia grows, and I think all of us who were early adopters day one realised that the tech worked, so it was always going to just be about the marketing and the games. Once the games were coming, and we'll see it with our big news story of the week, but the proof is in the pudding. It really, really is that once people get it in their hands and they get a taste of what's possible, they get it. The penny drops and they understand and they go, right, this is what everyone's been talking about. It's not a confusing Netflix model. It's not, I don't have to subscribe to 20 different subscription models. It genuinely is. Just buy the games you want. If you have good internet, enjoy them without dropping $400, $500 on a new console. And we've been championing that for months upon months now. And it's starting to turn a corner. The winds of change are upon us.
Yes, definitely.
But in reference to great content that you obviously make, Sunny, and the amazing content creators we have out there representing Stadia on a day-to-day, on a week-to-week basis, big shout-out to the Cloud Gaming Awards, which took place this last week over on Cloud with a Chance of Games. Duncan and the team pulled together an amazing award show, amazing night of celebrations with many, many deserved awards going out there. So a massive round of applause to everybody who won big, and we certainly are looking forward to next year as well. Personally, we held a little watch along for the community as well. So not only do we have our Cloud Gaming Awards, we had one of arguably the biggest events of the gaming industry this past year. Myself, Richie, and some other lovely members of the Stadia community. We had Chase, we had Eddie, who obviously you're familiar with as well, Sunny, and we had Dan and we had Avery from Stadia Source. Big, massive voices. We all tuned in. Very, very late for us. Talk about burning the midnight oil, Sunny. We stayed up well past midnight to watch along with the community, and it was amazing. We saw some new games. We saw some Stadia games announced, more importantly, throughout it, which I don't think anyone was probably expecting. And we just had a good 3 or so hours having a chat, drinking, talking, and enjoying the celebration of games, which is it always happens at this time of year. Whether you're a young child and you're waiting for your parents to treat you to a new game, or you're an adult and you just have far too much money to make sense, so you treat yourself to new games. You usually get a little bit time off work with family, friends, and such, and it's a great time all around. Great time to be a gamer. What a world we live in. And off the back of that, we also dropped our latest episode of our Guilt playthrough. So me and Richie are currently playing through Guilt, Sunny. It was one of our first ever games we intended to do a playthrough of, and then with the way the world is in 2020. We obviously never got around to it in the time frame we'd have preferred to. But while we've got you here, did you get a chance?
It's a good game. I'm glad that you guys are playing it. By the way, it's a great game. I beat it right when it came out, and I reviewed it back then. It's a great game. So good to see you guys giving some love to these games that are a year old that a lot of people aren't taking a look at. So I'm actually glad you guys are highlighting that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And Tequila Works is doing a great job.
Yeah, it's a game that we'd always emapped us. We want to do content around this game.
Yeah.
So I held off for a long time just until we could get to a position where we could actually sit down and play it together.
Yeah.
No, I think it's awesome you guys are covering it right now. That's awesome.
It's still a Stadia exclusive, which is weird. I always thought once we encroached on that kind of first year of Stadia, it would go multi-platform, but clearly there's some kind of really good agreement between Google and Tequila Works behind the scenes. But we're loving it so far. We've got a few more episodes. It's not the longest of games, the most time consuming, but obviously it is dropping. We are playing it, of course, at the time of year when there's so many other titles to play, which of course is just typical of how we do things over here as well. But you can go check that out on our channel as well, which is thoroughly enjoyable and spooky at the same time. So big shout out to Guilt, and check that out if you haven't already done so. Without actually, to be fair, before we move on to the next story, I just do want to do another special shout out because much like us, Sunny, you probably use StadiaSource.com as your kind of go-to place for most breaking Stadia news stories. They do a wonderful job over there, and I think they definitely keep us two in the loop with just basically all those intricate details you wouldn't see on major. I'm not getting Stadia news from IGN. Kotaku, Game Informer, they're not giving us the detail we want to know as big Stadia fans yet, anyway. But this week may change that. But
they're just starting.
They're just now realizing that it's a thing. But more importantly, I wanted to give a big shout out to one of our patrons who's actually just joined the Stadia Source team as one of the content editors, and he's already put out 2 articles over on their site. So our friend Luke, Go check his articles out on Stadia Source. He's wrote 2 long-form pieces, one covering Celeste and how it impacts their mental well-being and how gaming can help overcome certain things like anxiety and such, especially in such a difficult year we're having. It's a great read, great insightful look at that game and the impact it has. And then secondly up, he's had a look at Cyberpunk and how it's really, really helping change the corner, turn the corner as such on Stadia, and the impact and how it's performing better than the old school consoles we've got, and how that's actually shining a new fresh light on Stadia, which we're most certainly going to talk about. So yeah, a little bit different style of writing than you're probably used to checking on Stadia Source with just your news, but it's great to see that they're expanding and they have huge plans for 2021 as well. Like I think everyone does. Everyone wants next year to be better than this shitty year. So shout out to those guys as well. You love to see it. You love to see everyone expand and improve as well. But that's it for our housekeeping this week. Praise be where it's required. But what I'd like to do is, in Tom's absence, as per usual, we'd love to throw it over to our guest to introduce us to the
super sexy special Stadia stories segment, aka the news. Is that right?
AKA the news. You are certainly right. Spot on. You love to hear it. We love to throw it out to our guests just to get their different twist on it. We can't let Tom have all the fun with that tongue twister of a title. But yes, gentlemen, here we are. We are here to obviously talk about all the Stadia weekly news wrapped up for our listeners and viewers' delight. And what a story we've got to kick things off with this week. None other than the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 from CD Projekt Red. Obviously launched across many, many platforms. But for the most part, it's getting the most praise on a little-known platform that we like to call Google Stadia. And I just wanted to start off this little segment this week by pulling out a few extracts from some articles I've been reading this past few days. And like you alluded to there, Sunny, the big guys, the big journalistic game sites are now picking up on Stadia stories. And it's great to see, whether they are super sexy ones or just regular boring day-to-day stories, they are picking up on it. And just a few extracts. So we've got The Verge article, and I just want to quote, "It may be hard to believe, but the Google Stadia version of Cyberpunk 2077 may be the best way to play for most players right now." Music to my ears.
I'm not a fan of "it may be hard to believe." It's like it's clearly written by someone who's once written off Stadia and went, "Oh, actually, I'm surprised by this."
It's caught
Where
me
anyone
out.
who's played Stadia over the last year is like, I knew this.
We know this. Yeah, we know this. I'll follow that up. Sorry, go ahead. Sonny.
I've. It's funny because I saw that these were on the show. Now I read all these articles. I've covered them. I think throughout the week. I even showcased them, and it's funny because even though they wrote these articles and they said what they were mostly glowing, there was still every once in a while there's still like a little backhand. Like they don't want to embrace it fully, right? They want to go. But you might just have a little bit of latency there or something. And it's like not fully like embracing it, but either way, it's like they're cringing a little bit while trying to give praise. So it was interesting to see. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just hoping that it's a case of because of being pretty negative or completely apathetic to Stadia over the last year, a lot of people are slowly backtracking from the position rather than just flipping things on the head. Let's just take a few steps back and not just go, actually Stadia's pretty good now, all in one go.
Just in case this does start to take off a little bit, we don't want to be the site who's been negative constantly for it. There's a few things I've read where they say about big hitting titles, and I'm thinking, do they not know we've been playing Valhalla and Watchdogs and a bunch of other titles? It's almost as though the Cyberpunk, the CD Projekt Red flag, the bright yellow flag that they've been waving around, this has all of a sudden drew their attention to it. And and another extract from Tech Radar, so another reputable website, and I quote again, "However, with Cyberpunk 2077, it feels like Google Stadia has begun its renaissance, now matching computers and physical consoles." Again, another great shout out, but we all know, and our listeners all know, that this has been the case for over a year now.
Yeah, it's been matching the consoles, especially since day one. It's hard to compare against PC because PC is always going to be superior if you have the right hardware, but it's very much that caveat. Yeah.
But even then, that's hard. Even then, it's hard to get that good stuff. Honestly, I've been loving the fact that they've been praising Stadia, and I'm glad people are starting to see. You're seeing it in the numbers everywhere. We're talking about the Reddit's just blowing up. I mean, it's just the community is growing so much. and people are very interested, and they're running to Stadia and even other platforms as well that are cloud gaming, and it's good to see. And it's you can tell that Stadia put all their chips in here, and they did a good job. The game is running really well. I mean, think about it, guys. Just this time, about maybe 8 months ago, or not even that long ago, we didn't even think we were going to get this day and date, right? We were really worried about that, and Stadia has just done an awesome job, and I'm really glad they're starting to see that. Even if these articles are not given the full 100%, it's really good to starting to see the shift, and it's big.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up the day and date thing, because I actually completely forgot about it. It just goes to show you, we were expecting to get this at one point late, and not only did we get it at the same time, it's objectively better on the Stadia.
I was at the time, I always knew that this game was going to be huge for Stadia. I knew that this would be a game because of the culture that surrounded this game. It's become like a weird, it's beyond gaming. Like it's gone beyond that news. So I knew that it was always going to have a lot of attention. So many, many months ago when I was making videos, I was just like, well, this game's going to be the biggest. And people were like, nah, not really, because people are going to be able to play it everywhere else. And I'm just like, just wait, this is going to be the biggest game for Stadia. And so it not being day and date, I remember it being a big deal to me. And so for it to now not only be day and date, but to even be pretty much better than every single, for all the consoles, because even the next-gen consoles are playing the old versions, and they're not even looking as good as the Stadia version. So this has gone even past what I was thinking was going to happen, because I knew this was going to be big. I knew this game was going to have a lot new people, not bringing in a lot more new people onto the platform, but this has even surpassed what I thought was going to happen. So it has just been mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think if you probably go back many, many episodes ago, I've probably said something like what my hope for Cyberpunk on Stadia would be day and date with over consoles and as good as like PS4 Pro. I think that was where the peak of my expectation, and it surpassed it. So well done, CD Projekt Red. Well done, Google Stadia.
Indeed. I think it goes a long way to just highlight the iterative nature of Stadia, and you alluded to it there, Sunny, but these are the last-gen versions. They're essentially, they've been working on them for over half a decade now on the old tech. So yes, we are on the cusp. Oh, we're not on the cusp. We've tipped over the edge now. We have Xbox Series X out in the wild. We have PlayStation 5s out in the wild, albeit they're hard to find for a lot of people. But in regards to the technology, this game wasn't developed this last year with those in mind. It was built on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which then, the great thing with Stadia is, yes, it's on the further end of the spectrum with the next-gen consoles, but it's iterative. So next year, when the higher specs do drop, our PC gets an upgrade. We all know that the Stadia version, they've came out and quoted it as saying that this is essentially a PC port over to Stadia, and it was done and wrapped up before all the problems hit the fan over the last kind of couple of weeks. And I just think it's a big testament to the network running Stadia, that it holds up, it runs better, it's clearly able to cope with the processing fidelity required for a game of this scope much better than a 7-year-old original PlayStation 4 is going to, and that's just the nature of technology. It's going to, and it's great to see.
It's to the point where I can't believe this. Stadia is out there on the official Twitter, literally trolling everybody now. Have you guys seen these tweets where they're trolling people? Because I've never seen that. It's like the Outcasters Twitter handler decided to take over, and now they're just trolling people because of how good it is, and it's hilarious.
Usually I'd be, don't play that game, but for Google Stadia, for all the shit they've been getting for the last year, I kind of go, you know what? Have this one, take this one. I don't like hearing people having a bad time, regardless where they're playing with a game.
I agree.
But Google, you know what? You can have this one. You've been taking shit from all directions, including us, for like a year.
True.
Enjoy your success.
Enjoy it, revel in it. Yeah. And it's great because I just honestly think the winds of change have really started with this launch. We know it's been coming gradually. They've had marketing issues over time. They've had game launch issues. Even just a few of the stories in this week's show, day and date games are really frustrating. But Sunny, you brought up a great point there. Like, we could have not been playing this game right now. All the amazing content and streams you've done this past week, all that sleep you've been passing up to play this game, would not have happened in another alternate world where Stadia didn't get Cyberpunk until the end of the year. Or we feared it would be pushed back even further with the several delays that happened as well. So the fact that we're playing this right now feels like a little bit of a Christmas miracle. But aside from that, it runs better, gentlemen. I just want to quote more stuff. So Forbes picked up this as well. So Forbes magazine, they did an article, and I quote from their article: "This may be the first time a major release truly outshines consoles on Stadia, which is kind of remarkable." Obviously, to us, it's not kind of remarkable. There's that little jab. They need to get that into there. But again, it's big reputable sites now picking this up, and the everyday people, the unsuspecting gamer who's not heard anything but bad things from Stadia. I know you see them on Twitter pop up going, "Oh, is it still a thing? Oh, I thought this died years ago." Like all of that, those kind of jokes.
The three people that still play must really care about this.
Yeah, all of those typical comments. And Sonny, with an audience of your size, you must get some arsehole showing up in your chat from time to time, just trying to knock you off the shelf a little bit and wind you up and other things. And
surprisingly, I don't. I get one guy. He'll go in and he'll be like, "You're still doing Stadia," and I'm just like, "Oh boy!" But that's it. It's amazing. It's crazy. There's actually not as many trolls as you think, but there is a bunch of people in the comments for sure on videos.
We may get more now. It's not publicly aware. They're all going to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to wrap up the stories around like positive praise. So VG247 as well. They pulled one from the Reddit thread, so it's not necessarily an article, but you mentioned it as well. The Reddit. Subs have kind of shot up through the roof as well. As more people are getting their hands on the game, they're trying it out, the premiere, that their eyes are opening to giving it a chance, at least, which is what we said from day one. Just give it a chance. As soon as you have a go, you realise that it's not as complex or crazy or difficult to understand as a lot of news outlets made out day one. And this one comes from the Stadia's Reddit thread with one post. It's got 93% upvotes stating, "I have never in a million years thought I would be able to play a game like Cyberpunk on my shitty laptop, but it runs perfect."
I did see that one, yeah.
And just like that,
beautiful.
You just have to, smile.
You know what I was doing the other day? I didn't pull the trigger on this, but I was just flicking around through eBay, looking at some like old Dell Optiplexes, thinking, what's the cheapest thing I can buy to play this game on?
Well, a lot of the articles tested it out as well on older tech, to drive home the message of how convenient this is. I think it was actually the Games Radar article that basically said they tried it on the most cheapest Android phone they could find for like $120, and it ran fine.
Yeah, I was looking at things like £25 second-hand Dell Optiplex business PCs with like looking at it, okay, it's got 4 gigs of RAM. You'd have to buy a VGA like HDMI adapter to plug it into your TV. But
oh Lord,
that probably run Cyberpunk.
I mean, yeah, it really will. And
I think they will. Yeah,
and I haven't tested it, so if anyone out there does it and it doesn't work, don't blame me.
Yeah, we see it all the time. We saw Dan when we did our Game Awards stream this past week. He was saying that when Cyberpunk came out day one, obviously in the UK it dropped at midnight, so most people didn't get to play it until the following evening after they'd finished work. And when Dan was in work, everyone was talking about playing Cyberpunk, and all the articles started coming out for across the board, the ratings, the reviews, all that kind of stuff. And he played it on his lunch break at work, and his colleagues were looking over his shoulder thinking, "Are you playing what we're talking about on our lunch break over here?" "Yeah, I'm playing. I'm running it on the phone." And
I've got a 3-hour download when I get home to get it on PlayStation 4.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, even with preloading and stuff, there's like we saw on Steam had problems with like server queues, and day one patches weren't completing properly. And I, for one, stayed up till midnight to check it out for the first couple of hours. And I'm sure Sonny, you plowed loads of hours into it as soon as it dropped on Stadia. Yeah. And just that time window you save from not having to download 50, 60 gigs and then another 20, 30 day one patch, and I think there's an update already dropped this week, and we just don't have to worry about that. We just click play, and we're having fun.
It's funny because you mentioned that article earlier about the 5, and I actually made a video this morning. That's what I was doing, not going to sleep. I made a video because I didn't. He still made some backhanded stuff there. You know what? I'm just like let an actual guy who's played Stadia for a year actually make up some points, and some of the points on there were the fact that it's amazing. We can get on Stadia 24/7, and we never have to worry about some update or Stadia going down or anything along those lines. You can, at any point, you can just hop on and play, and you're not going to deal with those issues. I also mentioned how convenient it is, and what you gentlemen were just talking about is the fact that we can play on any device. And I even showcased that. I would jump from device to device to device, and you can. It's mind blowing how this is just picking up now, and I'm glad it is. But Stadia is just insane to me. It's insane to me. And this is coming from a guy who's had $2,000 gaming PCs for the last 15 years, and I love Stadia big time. So it's just mind blowing to me, and I'm glad that it's like I said, people are starting to see it. People are seeing how convenient it is, and people are starting to kind of understand. And some of these misconceptions are starting to slowly, like, I don't think it's ever going to go away, at least not for a while. But people still thinking you need like this insane internet. You don't. You can do this on mobile data. You don't need all this insane hardware. You can play on some crappy controller. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy good, and just kudos to the Stadia team. They killed it.
Yeah, they really have with this one, and I think with this just being the beginning, we should wholeheartedly expect more people to now open their eyes to maybe thinking, I'll check out Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's another massive AAA game dropped this winter, and we've got like Watchdogs, we've got Far Cry in the new year, we've got Riders Republic. Obviously, we all know Ubisoft have done wonders for Stadia in terms of bringing their library across. But with Ubisoft Connect and cross save and such being a thing, it's a scenario I can see people who do have it on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox Series X or whatever it may be. Now you can just take your save file with Ubisoft Connect, and you're at work one day, and you can feasibly you can take your controller in with you, hook it up to your phone, transfer your save over, and just keep playing. And I think the more conversations we have and the audience have, and Google's marketing team really start to crank it up as we head into 2021, and we get more games and more titles, and we know that library is only going to get bigger at this point. It's great time to be a Stadia fan, a great time to be a gamer.
And it's funny for pretty much this entire year, when I'm usually on live streams, I tell people, like, they go, "Hey Sunny, how can I convince my friend, my parent, or my brother, sister, how can I convince them to jump on board and try Stadia?" And I'm just like, just show them. And so that story about, they're in the break room, that resonates with me. That's exactly how you do it. You blow people away by playing something like freaking Cyberpunk on your phone while they're sitting there yapping about it. That is perfect.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just you'll be talking and go, "Oh yeah, you can just like play anywhere and no problems, work seamlessly." I think they just don't believe you. Sometimes, but when you show them, it's like, "Oh, you can." Like,
yep.
Yeah. If to ring home the message when we say about playing on phones as well, mobile devices. This game was announced when we were all rocking phones like an iPhone 4S, a Nokia Lumia 900, the Galaxy, I think it was Nexus even. So when this game was first announced, the phones we use today, the technology has came along incredible leaps and bounds. And the irony now is you can play it on your Android phone, hope soon to be iOS as well with the Safari add-on that they're doing. Which is going to open up to a whole other market of people who are locked into an ecosystem as such, as we joke around as Android fans here at Sounds of Stadia as well. But just overall, great time for a great game, and obviously it's going to be patched to hell across other platforms and consoles, and we won't know because we just boot up the game. We just jump in and play, and it seamlessly happens, and it's great to see. But yeah, that's a huge win for Stadia this week, and kind of linked in with all of that good news as well about Cyberpunk coming and launching over. We've got some other great news, and that is that we have more people launching us around the globe in other countries. So I did want to forgive me in advance because I've pulled these out, but we did want to say welcome, which is Servus Viteta, I think. Uveze uk vita me vemvinda bene. No, I've said that one wrong already. Bene at Zivinu and willkommen to all of the new countries which I just slandered your local dialects for. I apologise in advance.
I'm so glad that when I was looking at the show notes, I was quite worried after I saw that because usually you make me do that.
Yeah, I didn't want to be that cruel, but we are obviously.
So I was just ignoring it. I'm not going to mention anything. I'll see if he does it himself.
I attempted it myself. I don't know if I did it myself, but yeah, that is welcome in Austrian, Czech, Hungarian, Polish, Portuguese, hopefully Romanian, Slovak, and I went with German because I know Switzerland has multiple languages, bilingual, so bienvenue to French side, I guess, of Switzerland as well. We should have got Eddie on. Eddie's great with languages, Richie. He could have done several of them without even thinking twice. I personally had to Google them, then phonetically break them down, and then still ruined it. But the big focus point of this story is we have several more countries joining the Stadia lineup. We see it all the time on Twitter, people asking, when is it coming to my country, when is it coming? All of those, like us tech enthusiasts who are just waiting to try this out, they've got their eyes open to and willingness to try this tech, but unfortunately just due to their location in the world, they haven't had a chance yet. So more countries is always better, and Stadia came out earlier in the year and said we are looking to roll out to more countries, so this is just the beginning. we all know that it's going to be wherever there's internet, or good internet at least for the time being, and we expect to see more, which is great. Shout out to those countries. So welcome again. Apologies. Let us know in the comments below. Send me abuse about how bad I just said those out, but just remember, I didn't have to make any effort for that, but I did. That's what I'd like to say. And from you guys, gentlemen, Richie, I'll throw it over to you first. Surprised by these countries, or is this kind of what you would expect, Central Europe?
I think it's what I'd expect, although I think there's a lot of people probably in places like Brazil and places like India where I've seen people in like the Facebook groups quite routinely asking, oh, when's it coming to my country? I think some of them might be a bit disappointed, but I don't know what Google's planning. I think they're looking at where they think they're going to get the most inroads and where it's got the best internet infrastructure, because that is the major downside of Google Stadia, is you need the good internet infrastructure. You don't have to have anything extremely ridiculous. You don't need like gigabit Wi-Fi or anything like that, but you do need a decent stable connection, probably about 30 megabit per second and stable, to run at 1080p. So it's probably just looking at the infrastructure in the countries and going, and also probably the logistics, and COVID's probably even played a part as well.
Oh, certainly will have done, 100%. It's affected everyone and tech companies. And again, I can't believe we've got the PlayStation Xbox out this year. I really had a good feeling that may have been pushed back to 2021, just from a logistics standpoint. And even though they've done it, we've seen how restrained they are for deliveries and companies and getting stuff out, and it's crazy that anything's really working this year, and it wasn't all just put on hold. But yeah, to see more countries join the fray is amazing, and no doubt ourselves and Sunny, you're going to see people dropping in from all over the globe now, saying hello, stopping by, explaining how they've got their hands on their first Premier Edition and what it looks like going into 2021. Especially what I would like to get in regards to all these countries, Sunny, just throw it over to you. Do we think all these countries are going to get Premier Editions rolled out with the now soon-to-be defunct Chromecast Ultra? Or would you suspect a new one, or something completely new entirely?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a really good question, actually. That's something I didn't think about.
You would think that they have to package them in their native languages. They're not going to send them all out in English, I wouldn't have thought.
Right.
But then, the Chromecast Ultra has been replaced as of a couple of weeks, months back now. And obviously, we all know in the countries that have had it for over a year now, it's just surplus stock of the old stuff that's left. But I've alluded to it a few times. I'm expecting a new 2021 kind of Stadia bundle that not only has the new Chromecast with TV they've announced, but then maybe some new packaging. But these countries, this is going to be brand new to them. So when they go on google.com or .es or whatever country it may be, there has to be something for them to pick up and buy, right? Like we all did on day one, and we don't know.
I don't think the information stuff would be as complicated as you think, because the IFUs, the instructions for use for the different languages for the Chromecast, will already exist because it's already been on sale. So then it's just adapting the Stadia specific parts of it. So it's probably not that big of a task. There may already be multiple languages in there.
Yeah, I mean, the Premier Edition boxes tend to... I mean, the one I've got, obviously the one you've got, Sunny, as well, is just going to be in English, but I've got to imagine, like, France and Spain and stuff have Spanish and French equivalents and such, but in my biggest thing is just, like, we've seen over the last months how many Premier Editions Google are willing to just give out for nothing, practically, with the YouTube Premium and then now the Cyberpunk promotion as well. So they've got a lot in stock, but rolling out in 8 new countries... I'd just be intrigued to see if they got like a new package set up or just something different, or maybe that'll start in 2021. But I'm just excited to see what the new iteration is. I for one, am a big fan of all the different color controller combinations. And Sunny, what's your perfect choice of color for a controller? If you could have any color in the world, what would you like to see on a Stadia?
Has to be yellow, right? Everything's yellow themed for me these days. Yeah, exactly, on brand, exactly.
Well, I had a suspicion we may have seen the Cyberpunk ones be like a special surprise, like a Cyberpunk yellow edition for anyone who pre-ordered the game, and it's just a generic Premier Edition one. But missed opportunity, certainly.
I'm going to put a prediction out here now. I think we'll hear about the replacement for the Chromecast Ultra at the Google I/O event in 2021.
Okay.
Which the last one was scheduled for May this year, So I think kind of if it's like May, June next year, I'm probably launching maybe the September.
I'd like to see.
But I think it'll be more. I think it'll be more of a Chromecast thing with Stadia tagged on rather than he's the new Stadia device.
Because it's at the point in the world right now. If you have a Stadia set up already and you want another Chromecast for your TV, you can't buy the Ultra. And I don't know about your side of the world, Sonny, but over here, all of our stores have like run out of the just the standalone Ultras. So again, we know the new Chromecast with Google TV isn't getting the Stadia feature until later next year unless you sideload it on. So at the moment, there's no way to really expand your home setup aside from getting on eBay or buying a second-hand Ultra, or another Premier Edition entirely. I
think some retailers still stock them, but it'll be, I imagine, while stocks last sort of situation. You cannot buy them directly from Google.
Yeah.
This is something I definitely want to go investigate now because I didn't even think about it. My initial thought with the whole 8 countries. Well, first off, welcome to those 8 countries. I get tons of people asking me all the time from everywhere, asking when their country's going to come. I don't have the answers, but I'm just like, as soon as I hear something, I'll let you know. But I have to say, and just deviating a little bit, the 8 countries. This is a big deal for quite a few countries, and for me, this is something that I have always been watching out for, because one thing that doesn't get said enough, because it's easy, I feel, and this isn't applying to you gentlemen, but a lot of us, we kind of take for granted how good we have it here, and in certain countries, and this is the reason why I didn't even think about the Chromecast Ultras, because my mindset's more kind of towards certain countries, for instance, I was talking to a friend, and he was talking about Romania. And over there, the prices for a console or any sort of video game that's one of the newest ones are full price. What you guys pay, what we pay over here, it's the exact same price. They can't afford that. I think he was telling me their salary is so little. So what makes something like Stadia so appealing? Obviously, you don't need to buy any of the hardware. You don't need the Chromecast Ultra. You have your phone out. I've lived in a country, and I was in a country in Mexico for about a year. I pretty much lived there for about a year. And it was kind of the same exact thing from my own experience. A lot of people there they can't afford anything that's current gen. At best, they have the past gen, but even then, they can't even afford that. I mean, a lot of people, they just don't make a lot over there. I mean, we're talking pennies compared to what we would make here in the States for comparison. So Stadia for me, going to other countries, what for me is always something that I was watching out for, because now a lot more people are going to have access to playing AAA titles. Maybe even it's just a free to play, or when they go on sale, or whatever the case may be. But almost every one of these, even the poor people, if there's one fancy thing they own, it's a phone. That'll be the one thing. And it won't be a super fancy phone, but it'll be something decent. So having the 8 countries, including some of these other countries that maybe aren't as as developed or whatever, to see them have Stadia is just awesome to see. And that is something now that I definitely want to investigate too, about the Chromecast Ultra, because I'm wondering about that. I haven't heard anything about that at all, so I got to look that up and ask some people. But that's a very interesting question, because
it's again, we don't know. We won't see how it's marketed in these countries unless we suddenly start and see an influx of an audience from those countries. Obviously, we don't speak their native language, so there's a barrier there too.
Right.
But you're totally right in regards to other countries having totally different formats and layouts and different rates of a currency exchange. I know Brazil is another one that's often highlighted as the last gen markets. PlayStation 2 sold for a good 5, 6, 7, 8 years after the PS3 and even into PS4 came out, because the import taxes they put on technology from governmental standpoints is crazy. And this is kind of what Stadia's mantra's been all along: is it's play for everyone. It's get it out into as many hands, and we are reaching a point where thankfully everybody has access to the internet for the most part of the world.
Yes.
And if they can get that decent amount.
Yeah, I was going to say, even some of the poorest, the internet's the one thing that they have. So it's crazy good to see this, because when I saw these 8 countries, I thought, okay, we're getting to the point where we're rolling out now to more places. And it's going to be really amazing to see. This is why I've never worried about the future. Here, where you guys, UK, here in the United States, there's people who are already entrenched into what they've already invested in over the years. It's Nintendo, it's Xbox, PlayStation, their gaming PCs. But these other countries, this is going to be a huge deal. And I pretty much get it all the time in my comments. Hey, when does it come in here? I really want to play, the latest such and such game. When's Stadia come in here? And I just get it all the time. So for me, seeing these 8 countries was so exciting. I was so excited to see this because it just means more and more is coming. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I think we have talked about the value proposition of Stadia a lot. But just to give people a good example, even if you buy the Premier Edition, which is about £90 in the UK at the moment, I think the PS5, if you can get your hands on one, starts from about 450. It's literally a fifth of the cost.
Yeah,
that's true too.
So even if it's like you're buying the Premier Edition, you are saving like £350, £360.
Yeah,
like that's not insignificant.
Oh, certainly not.
Comparable experience.
And even regardless of countries, Richie, many times on this show before, we've brought up just the cost to a family. I remember as a child, I have a younger brother, and we would basically absolutely beg our parents to put both of our Christmas or birthday presents together so we could collectively get a console for the two of us. And again, we were very fortunate to have got that. But there are many, many people out there, many, many families who want to play because all their friends at school are talking about it. They see the marketing campaigns, they see the adverts, they see it on the Facebook, social feeds, all over the place. That these big, massive, super fun, exciting games, or even lesser titles that they just want to check out, and they just don't have, like you said there, Richie, the money to drop on it. And Stadia really is an outlet that's really, really simple. And if you do have a Chromecast, or as that guy on Reddit quoted, a shitty old laptop,
exactly,
you can still play Stadia on par with other people. So, yeah, I mean, we've been beating this drum for a long, long time, but I think it's really starting to come to fruition now. And with more countries and more games, it's really, really starting to turn a corner. And I'm super excited to see what the future brings. And speaking of what the future brings, as content creators, as streamers of the cloud, essentially, another news story dropped this week. Stadia came out and announced it, that everyone who has Stadia can in fact now become a content creator. They can become a streamer without the requirement for OBS or a super top end PC to stream it, because you can just do direct stream to YouTube right now if you have Stadia. So out there, I've seen it all over my newsfeed, all from last week. How many people are now posting videos and saying, this is me playing Cyberpunk, this is me playing Watchdogs. And it's just, all of a sudden, the internet is just awash with videos of people's gameplay. And it's beautiful to see, because now everyone who's been on the cusp or maybe considered making something, they now can. There's no barrier to entry, and it's just another big step, in my opinion, from Stadia to say, like, this is for everyone. You can do with this platform what you want. It's been huge. And no doubt, Sunny, many of your followers must have jumped in and tested this out over the last couple of days.
A bunch have definitely done it. I have to tell you guys just a quick story. I took an L with YouTube direct streaming when I first kind of started talking about it with my community. At first I kind of had a hard time understanding it. I was like, wait a second. So YouTube direct stream, that's cool. But you don't have OBS. You can't do this. You can't do that. I mean, how useful is this, right? And so in my mind, I was thinking at it from like a content creator standpoint. Now, I was on my Discord and I was talking to my community, and they're just like, well, what are you talking about, my dude? Like, they're like, this is a really good thing. And it was explained to me, and I definitely took an L here, because once they talked to me, I really understood the power of this. And essentially, a lot of people now will be able to go ahead, start stream and start playing their stuff. And maybe they don't have the fancy stuff just yet, but it gets people motivated, and they get to go ahead and put Stadia out there on YouTube, and you get to showcase what the platform can do and all these great stuff. And yeah, it's not perfect. You're not getting all the bells and whistles. You're not getting the little things that you got to do in YouTube. You guys know, you guys got, do little tags, little things here. There's little things that you got to do, little intricate stuff. But what happens is a lot of new people, especially let's see this week, now they're getting really interested. They're asking me questions. Well, what can I continue to do to get better at this? And what can I do to continue to improve my stream? And so now we're seeing all these streams, and we're seeing all these potential new content creators and these people who will, continue to push this platform. And it's just beautiful to see. And so I definitely looked at it wrong when I first heard about it, because I'm just like, this is something I'm not going to use myself. This is useless, But I'm glad that, we had such an awesome community. Tell me how much of an idiot I was and explain to me how awesome this is. And I couldn't agree more now. That was many months now later, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just about, it's removing the barrier of entry. So I imagine there's a lot of people who are interested in starting streaming, but not sure if they're going to enjoy it and don't want to start forking out for things like Elgato capture cards.
Exactly.
Or they don't want to spend their time to learn the tools like OBS yet. Or even just things like YouTube backend. I just want to get there, stream a game, see if I enjoy sitting in front of a microphone and playing and talking to people.
Exactly.
Before we start investing in,
It's the same as the game conversation. It's that, you're right, Richie, that barrier to entry. And I, for one, thanks to Stadia to this day, have not had the requirement to get an Elgato capture card. I did eventually invest in a newer, better, improved PC, but with Stadia running obviously from the cloud end, it does elevate a lot of the processing power a traditional stream would require, because your platform isn't requiring to do multiple things at once, because Stadia takes like the bulk of the stuff required away. And yes, you might not have a camera yet, and yes, you might be getting familiar with talking for hours and hours on end. And I think we've probably all became much better at that than we did right back when we all started off as well. But it is that barrier. And if you're out there listening and watching right now and thinking, I've always had that itch to do something like this, to like a creative outlet, and you've wanted to stream, give it a go. Try it out. Start it. You just have to hit your Stadia button on your controller and then link your YouTube account, and you're away with it. And it might just be 20 minutes of you playing Watchdogs, or 20 minutes of you checking out the opening of Cyberpunk, and you might only get a handful of views, but we've all got to start off somewhere, right? What was the first game you ever streamed, Sunny? Way back when?
It was right when Twitch started. I think it might have been Watchdogs, actually. Yeah, Watchdogs or Payday. It was one of those two games. It was a while ago.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I want to mention, though, I think I've seen people stream even off their cell phone. They're even doing it. Yeah. They're even doing Stadia streams off their cell phone. So this has now become, again, like, they're just breaking the mold here. This has now become the cheapest way. If you want to stream a game, you want to be a streamer, you've always wanted to do it. This has now become the cheapest, most affordable way to do it. And it's just, again, mind-blowing, like how they're just doing it. Now, it hasn't been perfect. I don't want to kiss Stadia's butt too much, because sometimes I listen to people's streams or audio's a little off. I don't know if that's something to do with the streaming thing or if it's like on the user end, but either way, the visuals have been really good, and it's been just really cool to see that now we're taking this to yet another level. And I hope this kind of gets more out there. Like, I think I've seen a couple publications talk about it, but hopefully we get to hear a little bit more here in the coming weeks and months. And when we hear that first creator that started doing this and then it broke the mold and is now, like, really successful, that'll be a fun one to cover.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued to know how it develops over time, because like you said, without the OBS and the camera requirement, it is a bit disjointed. Like, who would watch just a video footage that you could play yourself? And it is kind of the same content creator question that ran past me when it went live. I was thinking, well, I wouldn't watch it, so why would anyone else? But that's not the premise of it. The premise is to get people streaming and into it. And I'd be very intrigued if, even going forward, they come out with some kind of peripheral attachment. Yes. So imagine plugging a USB-C camera into your Stadia controller, and that captures the footage from your controller's point of view. So you can do video and audio and stream all through the same thing, just through your controller. Because again, at the end of the day, your controller is a USB-C hooked up directly to Stadia's servers. So there could be some communication there that won't require too much investment, but that's just me thinking crazy ahead.
If they can nail that, oof, it's tandem, already good.
Yeah, tandem mode with a webcam, essentially.
Good point, yes, tandem mode. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
But back to your first game though, Sonny. Moving on to our next story. Watchdogs was the first game you potentially ever streamed, and as if by magic, Stadia got a drop this week. Again, Ubisoft stealth dropping left, right, and centre on us. Watchdogs 1, or just Watchdogs, I guess it's called, and Watchdogs 2, the follow-up, which took place in San Francisco, took place obviously before Watchdogs Legion, the AAA title that just dropped this past month, is out on Stadia. They've just dropped this past week. Do you think you'll be diving back in, Sonny, or is that a game well in your rearview mirror by now?
It's not that. It's just, man, they dropped so many games. Where's the time? Like, I still want to play on to the end, and I haven't even dived into that.
Did you know that? There's no games on Stadia.
There's no games.
I know. There's no games. There's no games. It's crazy. I'd love to get back in there, and I have the means to go ahead and check them out. There's just, where's the time? It's just so crazy. I love that they're on here, though. And I think Ubisoft Plus, I'm guessing it's coming out this week, so it's going to be good to see.
Not many days left, right? They said by the end of the year, and here we are, the middle of December practically, so times are ticking.
I think they're porting over all the games as quickly as they possibly can at the moment, and I think once they've got a certain threshold of so many games ported, they'll probably hit the switch.
Yep.
Nintendo Switch.
Well,
That would be awesome. I would genuinely love to have Stadia on my Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, we've said many times before. It's the perfect peripheral for it, right?
Yeah, it doesn't eat away at my phone battery then if I'm playing on the go.
Very true.
And it's dockable.
One thing I did want to allude to with these, for me anyway, I wouldn't go back to Watchdogs 1 and 2. I've still got Legion to start. I've got it banked there for one of my Christmas games when
recommend
I
it.
time off. Yeah, it takes place in our home capital, so it was something I was probably always going to look into, just out of intrigue to go see the landmarks and do that typical.
Well, that's why I liked Watchdogs 1 because it was in Chicago, so I totally get that.
Oh yeah, Chicago, then San Francisco. So Ubisoft do a great job at just picking out landmarks and doing them really good respect towards like the visual fidelity and how true to the kind of art piece they are. The biggest thing for me with these two drops is the price wasn't very tasteful, I didn't think. $20 for Watch Dogs 1 for a game that's 5+ year old now, whereas we got Far Cry drop as a pro discount. Was like I don't know about you, we picked up Far Cry immediately just because of how cheap it launched at. $20, €29.99, a little bit too much for Watch Dogs 1 in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree, but I don't think Ubisoft care about the pricing on these. I think they're just... because they're going to be pushing Ubisoft Plus. That's what they're going to be pushing. So actually, they've been slightly overinflated in price. Probably pushes people to where they want them spending the money.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point. There, you never know what cogs are turning in the background from a business perspective and how they're thinking about that. It's a bit shame we didn't get them sooner in the year. Like I would have imagined a lot of people would have played Watch Dogs, then Watch Dogs 2 in the lead up to Legion. But
yeah,
what can
there's
you
like
do?
a spring summer where there could have been more games announced or come out in that period where they've all just come out in the last like 2 months.
Yeah,
I know.
Bang.
Yeah,
busy making Legion and Valhalla. Who knows what what resources they had? But I couldn't agree more because we did have periods throughout the year where there's crickets, there's crickets, and all of a sudden now we're just overflowing with so many games. It's cool. It's a good problem to have.
Oh, certainly. There's far worse things to have as well. And you mentioned it there, Sunny, as well, but Unto the End also dropped this past week as well, so that's sandwiched in there between the Watch Dogs launches. Another cheeky little stealth drop that they like to drop on us at any given opportunity from the Stadia team. I just patiently await for the blog post now, just to see what else we're going to suddenly get out of the blue. And speaking of as well, moving on to our next story, Tom wrote in, our lovely co-host who's not with us today, but he has wrote in with a question specifically for Richie. He asks Richie, who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
You are correct there, sir, because again I've been moaning about these titles for a few weeks now. Sunny,
few months.
Well, a few months maybe, yeah, purely because they frustratingly came out on other platforms. I've not played SpongeBob. I've not played Destroy All Humans. In THQ, they had the Stadia logo on the trailers when they were announced, and the launch day came around. And to our frustration, they launched on PS4 and Xbox and everywhere else, PC. And then there was just, like you said, crickets from Stadia. There's nothing, no mention of why it didn't come on launch day when we should expect to see it. Just the logo was on the trailers and on the ads. It's just nothing. And then all of a sudden, on a random Thursday in December, bang, bang, here you go, everyone. Have at it. And it's
madness.
And back to what we were saying in our last conversation, I don't have time for these two games now. Sorry, SpongeBob. Sorry, little alien guy from Destroy All Humans. I'm playing Cyberpunk, Valhalla, and everything else. So yeah,
I don't think this is gonna be a problem that's gonna continue to happen as time goes on. We'll start getting these day and dates more consistent. I just think they had to get them out. I kind of wish they would have waited maybe just until maybe January. There's just Cyberpunk just pretty much has swallowed everything. I still feel so bad that I haven't even touched onto the end. I'm sure there's our indie devs. I know they work hard, they pour their heart and soul into this, and then did not get their game covered at all. Must not feel super great. So I know I'm going to probably just cover it just on that merit alone. But like SpongeBob is a game that, like, I looked at the trailer and I'm like, this looks like a game I'd like, and it's SpongeBob, and I'm like shocked by it because the gameplay looks really good. And then you said like Destroy All Humans, another really fun game. I haven't touched them, and I've been wanting to play them. So it's definitely frustrating. I totally get that.
Yeah, Destroy All Humans is a game that I remember when it came out first time round, and I was a kid, so I just didn't have the money to buy it. And I remember thinking it looked like the perfect game a daft young Chris would love to play. But like I alluded to with the console, if it wasn't a birthday or Christmas around the corner, there was no way of me getting it. Like all the children out there who have to beg their parents for, or just have to ask their parents for what they would like for their upcoming celebration.
6 months ago.
Yeah, and it's like, no, Mum, there's more out. There's many more games out. And this obviously it's great because if anyone does have Stadia and they're getting it for Christmas, there's some more family-friendly titles available. I can't expect little Timmy out there, 10-year-old, rocking Cyberpunk with his his genital size is still hanging out and all that. You do not want that in up on the big screen on Christmas Day when Grandma's visiting and stuff like that. You want to avoid all of that. So yeah, maybe SpongeBob and stuff. So THQ Nordic, obviously, we know that they're buying every studio left, right, and centre as well. But finally, we have them. But like you alluded to there, Sonny, I would like to think going forward, this becomes less of a problem. And hopefully that we've seen the Stadia marketing team basically ace everything from the last couple of weeks since the Hangout event, really.
Agreed.
Onwards, and I just hope going forward we don't get this again where a game is announced, it's promoted as coming to Stadia, and then the release date just comes and goes, and everyone else is playing it. All my friends are playing it on PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, PC. And we just have to sit until like a random day in July when it randomly drops. And it's, yeah, as a gamer, and we've said it before, Richie, on the show many times, this industry is driven by hype towards a release date. Like, look at the hype around Cyberpunk this past week. If you don't give us an arbitrary date to put it towards, then what are we just waiting in the dark? That there needs to be that set in stone thing to look forward to. And again, Sonny is a big streamer. You need to know what events to schedule for streaming on the day of, because
exactly,
like, you may have done that.
I just put myself in the side of not Richie the content creator, Richie the consumer. I was like, I only have limited amount of money and limited amount of time. I just want to know when things are coming and, if possible, how much it's going to cost, so I can just plan my purchases. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if, like, okay, I know this game's coming out in November, I might go, okay, I'm going to save up for that so I can get everything I want to play. But when things just drop on you, it's like, oh, well, I look at the bank account, don't have enough for that. Sorry, indie developer, I just can't afford to buy your game today.
Yeah, because you've totally blindsided me, and I'm still 10 days from payday, and as most of us know, payday doesn't stretch usually into the final third of the month. It's usually all gone by then on bills and other such hobbies and interests and food and important things like that. But yeah, glad to see they're out. And it's just more strings added to Stadia's born library, that when people say, oh, it's got no games, and actually it covers all bases now. I think the only thing, Richie, we mentioned at the Game Awards, is kind of like a first-person shooter. Seems to be one of the only key things we're missing. Like a big, like, obviously, you know, we know we've got Destiny, Borderlands, but like another,
a Call of Duty, a Battlefield, Medal of Honor, that.
Oh yeah.
But again, time will tell, and I'm sure, as Jack Busey alluded to, 400 odd games in the pipeline for Stadia. So if you're wanting a bit of sleep, Sonny, you're certainly in the wrong place for that, with all the new titles coming up soon.
I know. You know, I think we'll start seeing, like, you're already seeing it with some of the titles coming out announced for next year. Like, we have Far Cry. I think that one did Far Cry get delayed, but like Riders Republic and a bunch of other these titles, I think you're going to start seeing them more day and day. We're kind of dealing with this, you know, we're the new kids on the block, and things are going to get a little bit pushed back, but it's going to start being a lot more consistent, and when it does, it's going to feel really good. And we'll sit back one day, we'll remember this time and remember all these things that just, like, out of nowhere just come out, and it'll be funny, but you'll see it more consistent, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we'll have a little dance about it when we celebrate. And speaking of dancing, that brings us on to our next story, which is, of course, during the Game Awards, we found it. We sent Dan and Avery off mid-stream to go and write the Stadia Source article, because Disco Elysium, the final cut, was announced for many platforms, but Stadia was on there, surprise drop with the logo. I just wouldn't have expected it, not only at the Game Awards, but then to just a game so, like, left field to come out.
Did we get any games last year?
At the Game Awards, I don't think there was anything.
No, right? Yeah.
So just for it to see there is
Game Awards, because there might have been something like that was mentioned.
Did we even know Valhalla was coming back then?
We didn't know if it was coming, though.
It's crazy. But here we are. Rich, you did a bit of research into this, didn't you? Got many amazing awards.
Well, the main thing I know Disco Elysium from is Game Awards 2019. Mm-hmm. Because it was up for a load of awards. It actually won Best Narrative, Best Independent Game, Best Role-Playing Game, and Fresh Indie Game. all at the Game Awards 2019. I remember watching the show and go, I've never even heard of this game. Like, and then I completely forgot about it until the Game Awards 2020.
So, the whole year of slumber.
I think it had like a Metacritic score of like 90 something, and it had like so many awards. When I was looking it up the other day myself, I was just like, I can't even say all these in the video. So it's just mind blowing.
Metacritic 91. It's critically acclaimed. It seems the fans of the game seem to absolutely love it. But it's an acclaimed detective themed. I'm reading this directly from Stadia source now. Acclaimed detective themed RPG. But yeah, we're getting the Final Cut version, which is an upgrade that I think everyone who owns it on all platforms is getting. But that's the version that's coming to Stadia in March.
Interesting enough as well, the advert was like PS5, PS4, Steam, GOG, Stadia, no Xbox as well. So, or Switch.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, so win-win, I guess. It's a weird juggle of exclusive and non-exclusives and platforms, and Stadia obviously seems to be in the bracket with all the PC platforms for better or for worse.
Yeah, PS5, PS4, Steam, GOG, Apple Store, Epic Store, and Stadia.
Yeah. So it's so weird that the way games work and these deals pan out and what conversations gone behind the scenes. But again, clearly critically acclaimed sleeper hit that I've, again, like you, Richie, I can't even before the trailer dropped at the Game Awards, I couldn't even, if you told me, I couldn't even visualize what it would be. So it's not even been on my radar as a big gamer with a PlayStation and Game Pass as well. So looking forward to it. Another game.
I'm looking forward to it. I guess you can be a bad guy and you can interrogate people and you can be mean about it, and you can be a completely good guy. So it's gonna be an interesting title. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Interesting. So that's March 2021. So it'll fill that little void we get of gaming where there's a slow start to the year. But hopefully a bit of time for us to just go back into our now very expanding back catalogues and enjoy a bit of those as well. I definitely think I'm probably going to be playing Legion probably in the new year, maybe. I've still got Immortals. I haven't even touched Immortals yet either.
Yeah, same.
And it's like I've got an itch to play it, and then I'm about 50 hours into Valhalla, which doesn't seem like I'm even at the halfway point yet. I've just started Cyberpunk this week, and
that's funny. I've played some of those, but I haven't gotten into Valhalla because I was trying to finish Watchdogs Legion, and it's just so funny how I'm not touching Immortals. I'm not a fan, but Valhalla, yeah, that's one I want to get into.
It's so weird. It's a good problem to have.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
More games. And another one we got from the Game Awards as well. It wasn't actually at the Game Awards, but randomly midstream through the Game Awards, the YouTube account for Stadia dropped Chaya, another little indie game. Very reminiscent. It's got very Windbound aesthetics mixed with that Breath of the Wild kind of art style. Just out of nowhere, it just suddenly was like, oh, there it is in the YouTube notification feed. And we're telling Dan and Avery, have you seen this game? And they both go on stream thinking, no, I've not seen that. And then
I've seen, yeah. So I don't know how you pronounce it. I was saying like Tashia or something. I don't know how to pronounce that at all. But I have to say, I was looking at some of the gameplay. It does look like a really like a game that you can really get enticed like a little ones to really get it, because it's so colorful and it just looked like it's like magical and you're just running around and it's claiming that it's an open world sandbox. So I was kind of impressed with it.
Yeah, it looks like one of them sort of like very charming games. Drop your into the world, go explore, uncover the narrative, and just
And you can even play guitar exactly the same as The Last of Us Part 2 as well, with all the strings and the chords. So that's clearly going to be a feature in loads of games. Now Naughty Dog have done it. It's going to be one of those things which it's nice to see as well. Nice to see finally. So yeah, just more games. We did get a date as well this week for Scott Pilgrim Save the World as well. We saw at the Ubisoft Forward event. I was almost going to say Connect then. There's so many different terminologies for these things now. So yeah, Scott Pilgrim they landed a date on January 14th. So actually 4 weeks away, gentlemen. 4 or 5 weeks away before we get the 10th anniversary of the return of that game, because we all know it got took down from the digital storefronts for other platforms a few years back due to licensing problems, I think, to do with the movie or the comics. So it's great to see that back. And I know, Richie, you're a big fan of this game, so not long to wait now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't actually played that much as the game, but I love the movie. So I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yes, and to wrap up this week's show then, we've got a couple of game updates coming out this week as well. Do you want to take the game updates, Richie? Just to run the audience through what we're expecting?
Yes, so first of all, we have a new campaign for Zombie Army 4, Dead War.
Very surprising. Alpine Blitz is the new campaign feature, which in my mind, Zombie Army is like a way older game for some reason. I didn't expect it to get new story content this far down the line. I don't know if that's a common practice for Rebellion, or I don't know whether it's been a pro game. My mind's just a bit skewed on seeing new content drop for it, but we've had a great time playing Zombie Army 4 and Strange Brigade as well, so all the Rebellion games, they've all been pro games. What was the other one? What's the third one I'm thinking of, Richie?
Sniper Elite.
Sniper Elite, that's right, yeah, all fitting from that kind of copy and paste model across. Out of those three games, Sonny, what have you had the most fun with? Our Sniper Elite, Strange Brigade, and Zombie Army.
Zombie Army for sure. That one's my favorite. I love zombies. I love killing zombies. I know we had that period where people were like, "I'm tired another zombie game." I'm like, no, I love zombies. I don't know what it is about zombies, but I love the genre of it. Whatever it is, anything to do with it, I love it.
It's because you don't feel guilty for killing them. I think that's it.
Exactly.
they are what they are.
Exactly.
The Game
you
Awards.
can be quite creative with it as well. With a zombie game, you can do everything from something like The Last of Us, which is very much more stealth, to something like Dead Rising, which is a bit more chaotic.
Right.
Yeah, you just need those like hordes of generic things to be able to kill without feeling terribly, terribly guilty, really. And I think zombies lend themselves to that. I mean, just looking at the Game Awards, there must have been about 3 or 4 zombie-related games that were announced across there. So it's clearly not a genre going away anytime soon.
No.
Yeah.
What else have we got this week, Richie?
We've had a big update for Marvel Avengers on top of a plethora of bug fixes, including like matchmaking and campaign stuff. We also got Kate Bishop.
Finally, another addition to the roster.
Along with her campaign, her own individual storylines, new cosmetics, the ability to disable takedowns, which is an odd one, but I wonder if that's just a community request or something, one, when I read it. For
me, I'm really intrigued with Kate Bishop as well, not only seeing her played out in the game, because she's a fairly new character. I know she's just going to be introduced recently to the new Hawkeye Disney Plus series with Jeremy Renner coming back, but in terms of my awareness of her, much like many MCU characters we've been introduced to over the last decade of movies, she's a lesser known character who it's great to see she's getting a bit of time in the spotlight. In regards to the game, I'm most intrigued to see how a bow and arrow is going to function, because between Iron Man's repulsors, Thor throwing Mjolnir about, Captain America's shield, archery hasn't been in the game yet, so I'm really intrigued to see how her skills and her powers, and how she's no doubt going to have all those different Hawkeye ability arrows, that one's going to be like electric, one's going to be some kind of like gravity well, no doubt, and I think she can actually teleport. I did see in the trailer they dropped, she's got some kind of ability that allows her to jump around. That's how she's going to navigate the landscape, because again, at the end of the day, she's a human, so she can't fly like a lot of the other characters or jump 20, 30 feet into the air. So I'm really just intrigued to see, like, one, her story continuing for free. Remember, everyone, this is free DLC, it's not paid for. So if you've got the game already, jump in and enjoy it. So yeah, no added cost for Kate Bishop.
I didn't even know that. That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, they said all the new characters are free, so I think we're probably going to see a new character every couple of months. Well, that's their initial plan anyway. But for me, who's actually I'm one of the few people, if you read the news and stuff, who actually has really enjoyed the game. And the thing that is going to get me coming back is those little sequential stories. And again, if they do Kate Bishop now, and they might introduce like Doctor Strange next year, and then we know PlayStation are getting Spider-Man exclusive, what that's going to look like. Yeah. But if they all come with their own like comic book running story arcs in the game, again, we all know games just improve over time as they patch fix things and they sort out bugs. It's only going to get better. So I'm looking forward to jumping back into Avengers every few months and just chipping away at these new characters. So yeah, Kate Bishop, no doubt Hawkeye is going to follow shortly after as well. There's like kind of like a different skin to it, but yeah, we'll get back in there, Richie. I'll drag you back in if I have to.
Yeah, I generally have enjoyed playing with you. I just kind of got a bit bored because the gameplay got once you got past the main campaign, it got very, very samey, like ridiculously so. Indeed. And I felt like I was just grinding better gear just so I have bigger numbers, and that's it.
Yeah,
with no real purpose behind it.
It's all about the maths. But
we're talking about other persistent online games. ESO is getting another update, the Gate of Oblivion expansion, and we don't know a lot about this, but there will be a global reveal event on January 21st next year.
Are you a big ESO fan, Sonny? Spend many hours exploring that world?
Yes, I don't know if I'm a huge fan, but I have definitely put in a ton of hours into that entire universe, and Oblivion's definitely one that I got very much on memories of. So that's going to be really fun to see. Very excited. That's definitely going to get me interested in it. They know what they're doing, because that's going to get my interest for somebody who doesn't like. I love MMORPGs and I love SO itself, but those games usually take a little bit of a time commitment to really kind of, do what you want to like accomplish typically. So that's going to be a fun one. I can't wait to see what kind of stories, what kind of things they're going to add to that. That's going to be really neat.
Yeah, I got really excited about when ESO was coming to Stadia, because I actually played the beta way back when that first
me too.
came out. And it sucked at the time. And I'm not gonna lie, I was playing World of Warcraft at the time. As I jumped in and went, WoW's better, and then just didn't touch it again until it came to the Stadia. Unfortunately, and so when it came to Stadia, it's like, okay, I want to give this a shot, but I think I kind of moved on from MMOs and stuff. It's like I don't really have the time to dedicate to the game, so I played that probably about 10 hours, and then they're just like, you know what, either I need to commit to this game or move on.
Exact same experience. Perfect. Yeah.
Not a reflection on the game at all. Just
yeah. That's the type of game that I just haven't played. Like you, Richie, when you were doing your World of Warcraft stuff back in the day. I think I was playing Age of Empires, maybe Roller Coaster Tycoon, like different styles of game. And then just over the years we've deviated. And when this came back out, I know for a fact I'm a massive fan of like fantasy fiction and such as well. I know this is a game that I would absolutely love. But in amongst everything else, it's almost too big for me to even think about starting it now. And I know when you and Tom set up the guild, when it dropped on Stadia, we're going to start doing this. And I just looked at it and thought, I just can't. Sorry, SO. I just really, really can't right now. Same with Baldur's Gate as well. It's just, there's some things that in scope, they become that daunting as an adult with a job and other things to juggle. I just look at it and think, I'll appreciate it from a distance. It looks great, it plays great, it's very much got my intrigue, but only so many hours in the day, and like you said, Sunny, we got to sleep sometime, right? We got to sleep sometime.
You got to choose what your battles.
Yeah, you do indeed.
Talking about battles, Valkyria Chronicles 4 Complete Edition is out now on Stadia. Actually, $39.99. It's one of them series I think we talked about before, where it's like, it's always been on my radar that I've heard people talk about, but I've never really looked into it properly. Have you any experience with Valkyria Chronicles, Sunny?
I don't, and it's not a game that I typically like at all. Actually, I think I've paid attention to the game before. Didn't it come out for the Switch? Am I wrong on that?
I think so. It's four titles in now, so it's got to be doing well somewhere for it to get another one. It
came out on the Switch, and when it did, I had no interest, and I guess I just. I've said this before, even though I don't have interest in it, I think it's a genre we're missing. We don't have a ton of strategy games. We're going to get Humankind here pretty soon. We need more titles like this, so I was pleased to definitely see it. And I remember I was doing the live stream when this went out, and I kind of made a face like, oh, okay, it's this game again. But a lot of people were like, yeah, this is cool. They were like excited and happy about it, and it's just good to see more and more genres, and this is definitely one that's missing strategy. I love strategy games personally. I love like Crusader Kings. I like what's the biggest one that everyone plays? I can't think of it. It's at the top of my head right now, but he's kind of like Humankind. It's exactly like Humankind.
Like Civilization.
Civilization, yes, that's the one I've poured hundreds and hundreds of hours, and we just need all forms of strategy games of all types. So it was good to see this one.
Yeah, me and Richie are big fans of seeing more kind of mouse and keyboard centric games come over to Stadia as well, because it's just it's the platform that can run it. I've on Twitter recently, I think in the last week, reached out to Frontier, who do the Jurassic World Evolution game and Planet Coaster, because they've got console editions of those games now that are out in the wild. They came this past couple of weeks, and I'm thinking, well, if they've got a console edition and they started out on the PC, that's one of those rules for Stadia. You need to have mouse and keyboard compatibility and controller. And then I think it's perfect games that I would love to play on my PC setup, but then I could take it on the move if it plays quite well. And again, it's like you said, one from every genre. You may not be into it, or it may not be in your wheelhouse, but having that vast array of differences just opens it up to a bigger audience. And we know Stadia can run them. So heavy, intense graphic games, like you said, Richie, that require a lot of processing power, Stadia can handle it, and we've seen that. So more the merrier.
Well, that's it. I think there's some great genres that are almost bound to PCs that I think are kind of went by the wayside a bit just because as more people moved over to consoles. But things like your strategy games, I think Stadia could give a bit of a resurgence for them, because if you're just using, like, I don't know, a $200 Chromebook or something for work, and then you can just boot up Stadia and play the newest civilization like Humankind or Age of Empires or Total War, and you don't have to fork out like hundreds and hundreds of pounds for a graphics card to be able to play them, you're in for a winner there. It might rediscover people's love for them sort of genres.
Agreed. And they've gotten good at porting these. I know I played Civ on the Switch, and it's really well done port. I mean, when things started, when you build up so much, it started to like really slow down because the Switch is just it's not powerful. But something like Stadia is going to handle that completely. So, and if you can get that controller and mouse, the controller support as good as like what Civ had, I think it's a perfect marriage here, especially for Stadia. So
yeah, especially if
you've got good controller support, and then okay, I'm playing it, and go put the controller down and immediately switch over to mouse and keyboard is something you can do on Stadia. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, even then, like I play Stadia quite regularly on my Samsung Galaxy tablet, and they can be compatible with mouse and keyboard. You can get a little Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse. So that's essentially just taking your PC setup on the go in a portable form factor. And it's, again, I don't think they've really explored that much over the last year. Like the titles have very much just been console ports for the biggest. So it's just more potential for the future. And
there's stuff like any first-person game. There's a strong argument that they play better with mouse and keyboard, and they have both options available. Yeah, but it's things like the real-time strategies that I think you could see a bit more resurgence.
Exciting times. Well, thank you very much for that, Richie. That is your game updates for the week as well, and that does bring us to a wrap for episode 64 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. So we've brought all your latest news alongside our very, very special guest from SunnyCloudGaming as well. Before we wrap up for the week, Sunny, do you want to give the audience a indication of where to find you and what you're up to in the next couple of days, weeks or so?
Yes, I have no idea what I'm up to. It just kind of comes and goes, but you can find me at over SunnyCloudGaming on YouTube and on Twitter at SunnyCloudGames.
Wonderful, and no doubt lots more Cyberpunk on the agenda.
I'm all cyberpunked out in terms of content, but I want to start playing it. So
actually, step away from the job role and actually just enjoy the game for what it is. Yeah,
exactly.
I know that one. So yeah, thank you everyone for stopping by. Myself, Richie, and Sunny are about to go play another round of video game 20 questions. We heard last week you had a great time playing along at home and watching it. So for our lovely patrons out there, which you can find at patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia. For as little as $1.79, you can sub to the channel and get everything a little bit early. So the post show we're about to go play right now. Hopefully, you may get it a little bit quicker this week, Richie, without, I think, was it the 19th question you bagged it in last week?
Yeah, I screwed us. I almost screwed me in that.
That's how it goes. But that's the nature of the game. But I think with this week, we will go with the caveat. I don't think you're allowed to ask any podcast-specific questions. Because obviously, it niches the market a little bit down there. But yeah, we're going to go play video game 20 questions where Sunny and Richie are going to guess a Stadia game from the Stadia Games library. And in 20 questions or less. So check that out there. If not, it'll be up on free feeds come next Friday. But thank you very much for tuning in to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 64. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
we should start giving people a heads up of how we do the outro as well, Richie. We just hope that when we say our names, then you follow on from that. But yeah, thank you again to our very special guest, Sunny from SunnyCloudGaming, joining us. Massive appreciate your time and energy today as well. And we definitely love to see you on the show again. But yeah, go check Sunny out if you haven't done so already for all the live streams and content that he does over on his channel. Thank you very much. We've been Sounds of Stadia. Have a great week, everyone.